Today, I'm going to show you how you could turn your boring volcano farm into something that looks truly special and unique. Decorative tips, a jungle volcano, and sci-fi themed farms lie up ahead, so let's jump straight into it. Greetings friends, Khaios here. The Volcano Farm, a classic Terraria build that is extremely useful, allowing us to sit in a box while enemies spawn, walk into a pool of lava, then drop their goodies for us to collect, all while we walk away from our computers and touch grass. Or whatever it is you do when you sit in your AFK farm. While these things are functionally amazing, they are usually visually pretty boring. But do they have to be? Today, I'm going to give you some tips on how you can improve your volcano farm's appearance. Then when that's done, I'll show you two different styles that you could use for inspiration in your own farms, including one pre-boss version that requires no paint or wiring. I'll only be covering the classic volcano farm today, but if you'd like to see me decorate other types of farms in future videos, be sure to leave a comment telling me your farm request for a visual overhaul. And while you're down there, be sure to check on the pinned comment, because right now I'm teamed up with 86th to show off some of their awesome Terraria merch. If you use the link in the description or pinned comment, any purchase you make will help support the channel. And if you use the code KHAOS10 at checkout, your Terraria merch will receive a 10% discount. Even better, if you place an order of $35 or more, 86th will toss in a Vortex helmet keychain for free. Just be sure to use the code KHAOS10 at checkout. The offer only applies to their Terraria merch lineup, and it expires on March 9th. Thank you all for your support. Now let's talk about beautifying our volcano farms. A proper volcano farm is essentially just a flat line of blocks, 168 tiles in length. Above and below our AFK spot, we need to make sure that nothing else can spawn. So usually this just means empty air, 57 blocks above where our heads will sit, 57 blocks below the bottom of the AFK spot, and 84 blocks to the left and the right of where we'll be standing. Within that rectangle, we build our volcano farm directly above the AFK spot, and visually, that's it. If you're not sure how to build a volcano farm, or if you want to see a bunch of other farm designs, check out my most recent farm video, linked in the description below, and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future videos along those lines. Now, this is a lot of empty space. How exactly can we make it look good? We can't build in the farm, can we? Yes and no. If you're early game, making a good looking volcano farm will be much harder, as paints and actuators can do a lot of heavy lifting here. I will show you how we could decorate a farm without any actuators or paints, but before we get to setting up an example for it, let's take a look at some tips that you can use to make your farms look better using paints and wires. First and foremost, lava doesn't always look the best in these designs. It's not a big pool of magma, it's a very thin layer of liquid, so it just kind of stands out, especially if lava doesn't fit your theme. Now, we can hide it away completely. Place bubbles purchased from the Party Girl in hard mode over the lava, which will stash the liquid inside of the block. Now, echo coat them. Not only will the bubbles disappear, but the lava will as well. However, the lava will still be there and fully dangerous and functional. If you're using spiky ball traps to enhance the lethality of your farm, you can echo coat those too, or paint them to match the style that you're going for, though the projectiles they spit out will always look the same. If only they would change their color when we paint the trap. Even though the lava is invisible, it will still produce light. This could be a good or a bad thing depending on what you're going for thematically. Usually these volcanoes are built in the cavern layer, as most of the enemies we want to farm will come from there, so typically these farms live in perpetual darkness, with the faint glow from the lava being the only source of light. There's no reason that needs to be the case. We can illuminate coat blocks to make them pop out, or we could use any number of light sources, from lamps to gem spark walls and light producing blocks to make some more interesting options. We could place down jellyfish block or glowing mushrooms that both produce light, then when we paint them different colors, they'll change the color of the light they produce, so you can get pretty much any light color combination you desire. Just make sure to actuate and echo coat those blocks to hide them away. On the topic of actuators, that's another huge thing that we could do to make our farms look better. Any number of blocks can be placed within our farm, then actuated so that they don't impede the monster movement. If a block isn't solid, it won't prevent anything from getting into the kill chamber, meaning we could actually build a lot of different things over our farm to make it look better. Additionally, we can also use some solid blocks. Nothing says that the area around the farm has to be empty air. That's just the easiest way to prevent monsters from spawning outside of the farm. However, if instead of having air, we have blocks, that could prevent spawns too, and it works just as well. So if you were to say have a low-hanging ceiling, you can make palladium columns that are actuated to make it look like the area is being supported by them, adding to the appearance of the farm while not detracting from its functionality. I would also recommend keeping in mind that we can only see things from our AFK spot, typically. Not every part of the farm will be visible. The spawn areas are well outside of our visual reach, but are still part of the farm. There's actually no need to decorate them unless the farm will be visible from outside of the AFK spot. Typically, at least for me, my surface volcano farms will be seen from any angle because you could cross over them, so I'll make sure to decorate the entire thing. But for my teleporter entered underground farms, there's no need to decorate near these spawn areas, just to save on time and resources. But if you're decorating these spawn platforms, don't be afraid to use actuated blocks. However, avoid using walls unless they're unsafe versions. Monsters can actually spawn in front of actuated blocks just fine. Walls, however, are a different beast. Make sure that the areas are mostly wall-free, or at least only use the natural versions of them so that enemies can still spawn. Furniture, decorations, and plants are completely safe to use. We don't even technically need a flat area for monsters to walk in. If you're not using conveyor belts or hoik tracks to speed up the monsters, then there's not really a reason to make your farm a completely flat area. As we can see in this example, when the zombies walk up or down the diagonal slopes, it does not slow them down in any way. They all reach the same point at the same time. So if you wanted to build uneven farms, they wouldn't technically harm your efficiency, at least for walking designs. I wouldn't do this for conveyor or hoik setups. Lastly, let's talk about the AFK spot. We can make this look better too. We can put honey inside of the bubble and echo coat it to hide it away. We can echo coat the teleporter, timers, candles, gnomes, pressure plates, or anything else we don't want to see. Echo coating will be a massive help, but I also suggest either funneling your loot via a conveyor belt away from the farm, or setting up storage nearby that looks decent. Personally, I think I'd rather carry my loot away to my storage area. Now that we have a bunch of tips on how to make our volcano farm look better, let's put it into action. This first farm is going to be very early in the game. It's not necessarily doable without any exploration, as I'll utilize things from the graveyard biome and a living loom, but this design can be done without having killed a single boss. So that means no paint, no wiring. I'm going with a jungle volcano design for 3 main reasons. 1, it's a volcano farm, and volcanoes and jungles go hand in hand. But more than that, 2, we can't hide the lava away, as we have access to neither the bubble nor echo coating, so if the lava is going to be present visually either way, making it actually look like a volcano makes the most sense to me. 3, making this a jungle biome will not only be helpful for appearance, but for efficiency. In terms of appearance, I won't be using the rubble maker for this build, but in the jungle, large plants can grow over time, so that will add a lot of detail to the build, as will bamboo, which I'll talk about in a little bit. In terms of efficiency, jungles have increased spawn rates, though of course you will get jungle enemies. So as you can see, I've started off by making the volcano out of stone blended together with boulder block. There are some other stone options that you can mix into this, but most would require paint or hard mode materials. That said, if you would like to see more stone options, be sure to check out my previous video, which was a stone pellet build tutorial. For some reason, the algorithm hated this video and it didn't really get promoted, but I can promote it myself. I'll also link that video in the description. In the AFK spot, since this is early game, there needs to be an entrance that doesn't require a teleporter, and I don't feel like building a hoik track, so I decided on a small tunnel under the farm. A trapdoor will prevent enemies from falling into the AFK zone while we're using it, and I swapped the door out for a boulder door. Now onto the walls of the volcano. I'm using craggy stone, worn stone, ivy stone, and boulder walls, with the ivy stone walls only being in the AFK area, as I figure that any lava would burn the vines away above it. With the volcano done, it's time to start shaping the general landscape. Mud will cover the area. This is an early farm and enemies will be walking in, so no conveyors and hoiks are needed. That means I'm okay with building in uneven terrain. When it's done, I plant jungle grass over it. If you're doing this by yourself early in the game, technically all you need is a single jungle grass seed, as the grass can grow over time, but obviously more seeds will make it faster. For the sake of time, I'll just plant all of it rather than waiting for it to grow, or you could build this directly in the jungle. When it comes to sloping the blocks, I'm only going to shape the edges to a slanted slope so that when slimes jump on them they could slide up a little bit and it'll prevent them from coming to a hard stop. I'll also place a bit of mud and jungle grass in the volcano tunnel so that I can get a couple of small vines. Now it's time for foliage. I'm going to plant trees with acorns. While I will be using fertilizer to instantly grow the trees, that's simply for the sake of this time lapse and for your viewing pleasure. There's nothing stopping you from growing these naturally over time if you build this theme in your own playthrough, as obviously getting fertilizer before getting into the dungeon can be extremely difficult. Whenever I plant trees, I try to vary the height a bit and avoid straight lines or clear patterns, at least when it comes to what is meant to look like naturally grown trees. With the trees in, I want some bushes, so I'll go with my usual, living leaf wall. Normally, I would paint these lime for the jungle, but again, we're doing this pre-painter. If you're going to be doing this, placing walls on screen is totally okay. Nothing can spawn there anyway, so you're not preventing any spawns, so don't be afraid to use walls like this. However, just make sure you don't place any walls in the spawn area off screen. Though you can't see the spawn areas while I work on this time lapse, I will not be placing new walls there. Onto some smaller details, I want this to be better visible at night, so I'm going to make a handful of lampposts out of wooden fence, wooden platforms, and palmwood lanterns. I've always felt like this light fits the jungle vibe very well. I'll alternate the lamppost directions and vary their height so that nothing looks too uniform. If I was building this post painter, I would probably paint them brown. Now I'm going to do something that might not make much sense. I'm going to flood the farm area with water. Water slows down most enemies, which would absolutely hinder our farm's efficiency unless we're going after slimes, so why would I do this? Because I want bamboo as decoration. The plant only grows on jungle grass that is submerged in water, but once you've grown the bamboo to the height that you want, if you drain the water, the plant will remain. So I'll be getting rid of all of this water when I'm happy with my bamboo. Right now, I'm going to speed up time and mostly wait for bamboo growth. Tall grass can grow on the jungle grass during this period, which is fine, but the large jungle plants will not grow inside of the water, and those are really what are going to make the build pop. So I'll have to speed up time for the bamboo, then drain the water, then continue speeding up time for the larger plants to grow. While I wait, I'm also removing parts of the bases of the mahogany trees to make them thinner so that we have better chances of getting large plants to grow when it comes time for that. And here we go, one jungle volcano themed AFK farm. As you can see, I have decently tall bamboo, I drained the water, and I grew some larger plants. I even added a few more stone walls to the outer edge of the volcano to give it a more rough and interesting look. And this is what the farm looks like in action. While we do build volcano farms on the surface to help with things like blood moon farming, slime farming, or invasion grinders, most of the time people build volcano farms underground. So up next, I'll show you all an industrial themed volcano farm in the cavern that will pull no punches in terms of what materials and tools I could use. Instead of just having a big empty space for the underground industrial themed farm, I'm going to fill in most of the area. As long as there are no air gaps, there will be no issue with the farm's efficiency. To do this, I could use T-Edit, however, if you're going to do it in-game, you could just use sticky dirt bombs, or, of course, you could just not dig a giant rectangle in the first place, and rather just fill in caves with blocks within the spawn area of your farm. Either way, once the top half is filled in, I'll get started on the farm. I'll fill in the bottom half later in the time-lapse. To start off, I'll work on the farm's kill chamber. I'm going to go with a different approach for the spiky ball traps, rather than having on the ceiling or on the floor. For this design, I'll have them launch in from the sides to have the pit filled with spiky balls pretty much constantly. Copper plating and tin plating, both painted gray, will be lining these spiky ball traps. I'll put 5 traps on each side, pointing them towards the kill area. Next to them, on both sides, will be a platform sloped into stairs. I used meteorite here, but it doesn't matter, we're going to be hiding it away. Once these stairs are actuated, these spiky balls will be able to roll into the pit. I will also actuate 8 of the 10 traps. This will allow the balls to roll from the farthest edges to the kill chamber. Then I'll echo coat the actuated traps because we don't need to see them. and I'll echo coat the platform as well. Behind the echo coated trap, I'll place a line of gray painted purple rain wallpaper. This gives a really nice metallic mesh pattern. Lastly, I'll place some bubbles over the lava and echo coat them to hide it away. Now I'll place some walls in the volcano. Gray painted copper and tin plating will be mixed in together with white painted pinewood wall. I start swapping the volcano blocks out for palladium column, but I'll actually change my mind on those later in the build. For the slope segments, I'll have conveyor belts that will help carry enemies up into the pit more quickly. More of the same materials will shape the AFK spot. Under the sloped conveyor ramps, I'll put a bunch of gray painted boreal fence. After that, I'm going to work on the conveyors that will carry enemies from the spawn area to the AFK spot. Since this is an industrial build, I want to make it look like a factory conveyor. I'll start off with rows of conveyors to the left and the right. These will be higher than the AFK spot, but they will be level with the spawn area. Then I break every other space of the conveyors, not because we have to do this for spawning, but because I like the way that it looks. After repeating the same thing on the other side, I place lines of palladium column painted gray under each of the remaining conveyors. Between them, I place cannonballs. I paint them white at first, but I'll swap to gray paint in a little bit. The cannonballs fit the conveyor look pretty well, and I'm a big fan of them. Now, to make them more interesting, I place a pattern of gray painted copper plating under every other conveyor and cannonball trio. When both sides are done, I fill in the gaps beneath the conveyors with gray painted cog wall, which adds a lot of moving gears to the conveyors, making them feel even more alive. To give the conveyors a bit of a low barrier, I place some more purple rain wallpaper behind them, just so the overhang can be seen across the top. Beneath the farm, I'm going to place a lot of deep yellow painted copper plating. Then I'll slope those with my hammer into a caution strip pattern, each side pointing a different direction so that they are mirrored. Behind those blocks, I'll place black painted copper plating wall, which completes the caution strip look. Now for some ceiling work. Tin plating and copper plating with gray paint will cover the top. Another couple of small segments of copper plating will make up the caution strips near the farm entrance. Then I'll dig in some space directly above the ceiling and swap a lot of the dirt out for stone, then blend it with boulder block. The Mighty Tidy will add stalactites to the top of it. I don't want enemies to be able to spawn in here, but I feel like the cave is a good visual addition, so I could either fill in the gaps with echo blocks or I could do walls. I chose walls, specifically copper plating wall, which I'll end up painting gray in the end. I want some lights in the kill chamber, so next I'm going to place down some red painted meteorite brick and some echo coated red torches to make them glow even brighter. I removed the palladium column now and built 2 more caution strips. Along the ceiling, I built some custom fluorescent lights using palladium column and a slime platform. The platforms are painted white and illuminate coated to make them look like they're bright fluorescent lights. Given how bright these platforms stand out, I decided that the red lights from the farm weren't bright enough, so I removed the meteorite, placed down some ruby gemspark wall, and illuminate coated them. Now to decorate underneath the farm with a massive stone block. This will function the exact same as the one above. When the blocks are placed and the boulder blocks are swapped in, I sloped the cave, and then I placed down some more copper plating walls above it. I'll build a few palladium columns painted white with red painted illuminate coated slime platforms over the top. The palladium will get actuated so they don't block enemies. I just wanted some markers decorating the farm. Finally, I'll remove the temporary torches and start making those fluorescent lights actually produce light. To pull this off, I place lines of jellyfish block under each light, painted gray. White paint would produce a much brighter light, but I want a slightly more dim lamp, so gray paint will accomplish this nicely. Again, I actuate the blocks so they don't stop monsters from getting into the kill area. Then I'll echo coat the jellyfish to hide them away. And here we are, a finished industrial farm. I really like the way it came out, and I hope you all do too. Between this one and the jungle one on the surface, I hope you were able to get some ideas and tips to decorate your own AFK mob grinders. And if you did, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe so you're less likely to miss my future content. If our AI overlord decides to stop being angry at me. And don't forget to check out the Terraria merch over on 86th using my link in the description or pinned comment, and check out with code Khaios10 to get a 10% discount on your order of Terraria merch. Plus, if you pick up an order of $35 or more, you'll even get a free Vortex Helmet keychain to boot. Thank you all for helping support the channel. A special thanks to my biggest supporters for the month, Kasu and Slathozar Porb. And be sure to check out my channel artist MythicalWater, linked in the description below. Thank you all very much for watching. Be back soon with a new video. Happy building!